Welcome to the show notes version. Welcome to the media show notes, whatever I'm gonna call this, for Roswell. These are all the books I own that I read for Roswell. And I'm also gonna go through everything I got from the library, every audiobook, every podcast, every documentary, and I will link everything I possibly can in the description down below, or at least tell you where you can watch it, or read it or whatever. And I'm gonna try and set up a Goodreads list with every single book. We'll see if that works. Like I said, this is just what I bought, which means this is what my library didn't have. We're just gonna get into it, and I'm gonna go over everything. I'm gonna start with these in front of me because they're in front of me, and then I will pull up digital stuff and every other form of media that I can possibly remember. I kept some track, but not the best track. So I hope that I have everything. In the future, I will keep much better track of what books were for what and where I got them, and podcasts and documentaries and all the whole 9 yards. Okay, we have Day After Roswell. This is one of the OG Roswell books. When were you published? Out of curiosity. It was published in 1997. It's almost as old as me. And this has more than just Roswell in it. It is heavy into the conspiracy. I don't know how much I believe some of that stuff, but it is very heavy into this is the kind of book I would recommend if someone was going to read sci-fi, especially alien invasion. I'd say grab this book, use it as a source. It's great. There's a lot of alleged stuff that the government has in here. Like I said, this is an older book, so you can easily get a used copy. For some reason, my library just didn't have one, but I got it used somewhere in town, and it's fun. I'm not gonna lie, there are points when I stopped being able to suspend my disbelief, quite frankly. So I ended up just reading it like a novel, and it is quite enthralling in that way. So, you know, if you want to read something that's supposedly real but more like a novel, you can pull this up. This is a government report. I simply bought the published printed version of it, but this is the Roswell report, case closed. It is the official, all of the official documents from the both U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Army, because if you don't know, the U.S. Air Force was actually the U.S. Army Air Corps. So this is the official thing, simply published in book form. But that's what this is. They are typed, scanned documents in here. This is dry, this is dull, this is boring, and this is a crucial piece of the research I did. So this is totally connected to Roswell and Area 51 and all of that. Bob Lazar claims that he was working on alien technology. Now, before I go any further, I highly recommend this book. This is one of the most entertaining books I have ever read. It is the most wild story. It is weird and abstract and like almost like a James Bond novel. And I think all of it is fake. I think absolutely all of it is fake except the affair. Basically, this guy claims that he, first of all, in the introduction, he introduces you to the fact that he's partial owner in a legal brothel. So that's how we get started in this book, where he's talking about that and his space cars. Rocket cars, excuse me. So that's how the book opens. And it doesn't really get more normal than there. This is another book that if you don't believe any of this, I highly recommend you read, especially if you want to write or you like science fiction. Again, in stark contrast, Hatchet I believe for the most part. He was a civilian consultant that was brought on projects Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book. Yeah, Sign, Grudge, and Blue Book. I think not in that order. This is one of those books that it makes you think. Again, I'm firmly one of those people that doesn't think that they've been here for really any reason, and quite frankly, it'd be kind of concerning if they did. But this book makes you think for a second. Like he was connected to Betty and Barney Hill. He was connected to Roswell. He was connected to all of these things. And some of these he's extremely skeptical about. And others he says, you know, especially, I think it was Betty and Barney Hill, I could be wrong. One of the famous abduction cases from around then. And he was saying, you know, these people are believable. Like, I believe them. Something happened to them. The last 4 I have are strictly Roswell, and then I will do all the digital stuff, which will mostly be strictly Roswell. Okay, so we have Cover Up at Roswell. These are all by the same authors. Roswell, the case, the ultimate cold case closed, and Witness to Roswell. These are 3 of the OG Roswell books, and they don't hide that they believe that it was extraterrestrial. They don't hide their stance, but they do say, like, here, we're gonna lay it out. We're not gonna try and sway your opinion. We're just gonna say what we think. And that is Crash at Corona. And this book is hard to believe. This is one of the more conspiracy theory minded, just FYI. And this book is quite hard to believe. Okay, so here's the full title of the book. The Presidents and the UFOs, The Secret History from FDR to Obama. This book is one of the most conspiracy theory minded books I have ever read. And quite frankly, watched or listened to or anything like that. And doing this thing, I read a lot of weird shit. Like, a lot of weird shit. And this... this is up there with one of the weirdest things I have ever put my eyeballs to. Inside the Black Vault. And my issue with it isn't him filing Freedom of Information requests, publishing those records. It's not my issue by any means. I think that that should be a thing. I think that that's why the Freedom of Information Act exists, and we should utilize it as what it's intended to be. My issue is his attitude.
Well, you guys wouldn't know, this is a very new channel, but for the most part, I typically don't call out an author. I don't name an author. Unfortunately, this guy really reads very, very self-important. He reads like it is his God's designed, ordained mission to protect and release these documents that are Freedom of Information request formed. So I have just as much of a likelihood to get them. And then bemoans, and I'm not kidding, for almost a chapter that they request payment when he sends these in. This is a normal procedure for something like this, and pretty typical ask. It just kind of feels like he's trying to play the victim for a good chunk of the book, and it feels very exhausting, I'm not going to lie. So, again, I have a very impassioned review about this up on my main channel, but for the most part, I don't think it's a good source, and I don't think the author is actually looking at this with a clear head.
Another OG book that I also got from the library is Crash at Roswell. Oh, okay, crap. There's 2 Crashers at Roswell. Crash at Roswell, the government's model mystery. If I remember correctly, this is actually against it being extraterrestrial, and I found this very, very helpful and very, very useful. And then we have Crash at Corona, and I'll be having the Roswell UFO Crash. And this is also, if I remember correctly, an against book. So it's basically calling out issues. And this is one of the OG books as well. It was also came out in the 1990s. And he calls out a lot of the practices that some of these investigators do or did. For instance, in this book, some people that came forward to basically say that none of that happened, they didn't see anything, to these authors, and they were rejected. So, like, it's important when you're building this kind of story where you want to take a more, I don't want to say documentary, but a more journalistic, I guess would be the right word, even though I'm nowhere near a journalist, approach to the case. It's really important to look at for and against and kind of gather the middle of the information, right? So, oh, okay, yes, this book is actually, I do highly recommend this book. So this is The Legend of Roswell, and this is actually written by Jesse Marcel Jr. It's much less about Roswell and much more about a son trying to protect his father's identity. Okay, that's all the books. So now we're gonna go to podcasts. So both Chilluminati, their entire Roswell series, and Bigfoot Collectors Club, their entire Roswell series. Highly recommend all of them. Totally worth listening to. I do prefer Bigfoot Collectors Club, but that's just personally, like, I just prefer that podcast. It's not anything against anybody else. Other podcasts that I listen to, This Paranormal Life, their Roswell one as well. Day in History, their Roswell one as well. Okay, yep, that's all the podcasts. Okay, and then documentaries. So top UFO projects discovered. I did end up watching that on Netflix. It's a Netflix series. There's a couple on Discovery and History as well that I ended up watching. And then on here, it's a very reading heavy project. I did end up reading about, but yeah, that's what these are going to be. After I have like a big research heavy video, I'm just gonna have another one a few days later. This just, oh, the research I did. What does it look like? How does it sound? Who, what, when, where, why? You know, all that fun stuff. So yeah, all right, I hope you guys liked this one, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. Everything's in the buttons directly below, and yeah, okay, I love you guys. Bye.